Hi, my name's Dr. Jerome Meller. Advanced care directives are forms that people fill out to ensure that their choices about treatment are fulfilled if they fall gravely ill and are not capable of making decisions at the time. A simple example of this should suffice. Let's say you had a massive stroke, ended up in a nursing home. You may be bedridden, doubly incontinent, had to be spoon-fed, and couldn't communicate. What treatment, if any, would you want to prolong your life in this situation? Advanced care directives enable you to put these choices in writing. They also cover illnesses such as severe dementia, problems like being on a life support machine, having a cardiac arrest, any situation where you've lost capacity to decide for yourself. This video describes some of the background to filling in advanced care directives and also a brief description of a short form I've written for you to complete. This is what my advanced care directive looks like. It is only 2 sides of A4 paper, and you should read it carefully before you fill it all out. The principles I'm going to discuss in the following slides apply to all advanced care directives really, not just my own. There are many reasons for writing a care directive. Apart from keeping you in control of your own life, it enables you to make decisions about whether you would ever want to be resuscitated under certain circumstances and life-prolonging treatments in severe dementia and vegetative states. But perhaps the commonest reason is that it saves your family from the distress of having to make these difficult decisions for you if you ever fall extremely unwell. It is absolutely essential to somehow involve your family or primary carer either in the drafting of the form or after you've written it yourself. Partly this is so that they can sign and witness the form, but more importantly, so that if the form ever needs to be used, they will be there to support and advocate what you had said in the form. It's important to understand what we mean by active or life-prolonging treatments as opposed to palliative care. The commonest causes of death in the elderly are heart attacks, strokes, pneumonia, influenza, cancer, and as a result of a fractured hip. So treatments that either prevent or treat these problems can be said to be active or may prolong your life. Examples of these treatments are aspirin, warfarin, Plavix and Iscova, and cholesterol tablets for heart attacks and strokes, any hospitalization where there is more intensive treatment, any operations, say for cancer or abdominal obstruction or fractured hips, any prevention of flu or pneumonia, such as with vaccinations. If you refuse active treatment in preference to palliative care, you will be kept as comfortable as possible. You'll be given strong analgesia and sedation and proper nursing care as necessary. Remember, by refusing some treatments, such as aspirin or cholesterol tablets or hospitalization or immunization, this may not actually affect you at all. You must also remember that by refusing a treatment, you may die. But alternatively, you may not die. You may, for example, have a stroke and be more disabled. However, some people feel that in the situation that they are in with severe dementia or vegetative state, this is not an important issue. Now let's take you through the Advanced Care Directive form itself. You must fill in your details, sign and date at the top of the form. The next section is for your family to sign and fill in their names. It's important for your spouse to sign it if you have one, and at least one of your children if you have any, or perhaps a carer. The next section is freehand for you to write any state that you would not find acceptable and would refuse all active treatment. The last section on the first page deals with your present health. So, for example, if tonight you had a heart attack, went to hospital and your heart stopped, would you want to be resuscitated? There are 3 questions dealt with here, and on the right there's some important points to consider. In the 3 empty boxes you either put yes or no, depending on whether you want the treatment or not want the treatment. On the second page, the first section deals with if you were ever in a vegetative state. It is described here, and there are various treatments for which you would put yes or no, and there are important points to consider on the right. The next section deals with if you ever had severe dementia and were in a nursing home. That's described in the paragraph. There are again various treatments, and in each of the boxes you put yes or no, and there are important points to consider on the right. The final section you fill in is about whether or not you'd want, if you were too confused in a nursing home to make your own decisions and became ill, would you want to be transferred to hospital or just treated in a nursing home? The final section is for your GP to fill in. To be competent to write a care directive depends on your understanding of the consequences of the actions that you are taking and perhaps the reasoning for your actions. Many elderly people do not have a very good short-term memory, and poor short-term memory on its own is not a reason for you being incompetent to sign such a form. An example of a competency is if you were posed the question that if you had a severe stroke and were in a vegetative state, would you want any treatment to prolong your life? Perhaps you would answer no to this. You should then be able to give a reason why you said no, and the reason might be because you didn't want to live in such a state for a long period of time. Someone with mild dementia who wasn't competent to sign the form often deferred to somebody else in the room, saying, well, what do you think? Or what does the doctor think? Or I'd have to think about it. They rarely give a concrete answer, and they would rarely be able to give a proper reason as to why they gave that answer. You can print my Advanced Care Directive off from the internet. Go to the website www.nrgpn.org.au and click on Projects, then click on Advanced Care Planning, then click on ACD for chronically ill or elderly. You will then be able to print it off. The ACD for palliative care patients is only for patients who have terminal cancer. Finally, when you fill the form in, take it to your doctor with any queries that you might have. Ask him to check you filled it in correctly and it reflects your wishes. Then ask him to sign, date and stamp the end of the form. He should keep a copy and you should keep the original. Perhaps there should also be a copy for one of your closest family members. Also, it's important to ask him to record the fact that you have an Advanced Care Directive in the section where he has his past medical history. This may be on his computer. Good luck.